better better that they're going to be. And the fact is that when it comes to this value equation here, what a lot of people do is they sell the vacation, dream outcome, but they forget about these other three things, which is how long it's going to take, effort and sacrifice, and perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, one thing to understand is when it comes to perceived likelihood of achievement, and I'm going a little meta here for you guys, but I think it's just important to understand, is that really this perceived likelihood of achievement is determined by the time delay and the effort and sacrifice. So one thing I'd write down your notes when it comes to developing representatives is this is number one is you got to create structure. Without structure, these reps will not develop. It just won't happen. And the perceived likelihood of achievement is the by far the most important thing because all of you are good at promoting, more than likely. But the problem is what most managers miss and why an average representative's time in an office is usually 10 days. And that's not because the faster contest is so awesome, it's because we don't manage people correctly, is because they aren't honest here. And there's a few different stages for representatives on moving up in their career. The first bit of it is just initial and advanced training, essentially. So, number one thing I would write down, especially for those guys who are going to be running trainings or are running trainings, is you need to train over you perform. One thing that's nice about training, especially for me, I like public speaking, especially when I mean, I like public speaking now, but I really liked it when I was younger because it really gave me a sense of like, excuse my language, but I was like big shit. Like it was really cool. Like I got to speak in front of, 60, 70, 80 people. Like this is a big deal. Or in training, you have 10, 15, 20 people. Here's the thing though, is that yes, you do want to have good body language, great tonality, but your job is to train them not to perform. Your job is not to come off as the smartest person in the room. Your job is literally to come off as the best trainer you possibly can be and that you are super knowledgeable. One thing my training used to be 2 7-hour days back to back, a 2-day training. My training now is 2 5-hour days and our productivity is 4,200 per head. Per person that walks to our office, they sell 4,200. The average in the company is 1,500 right now. And the reason why is because I got rid of all the nonsensical stories. I got rid of the I got rid of like all of the I mean I still have stories, but they're there for a reason. And you need to train over perform. So my job I'm leaving there is like, okay, did I achieve them like feeling good? Not just like are they excited about the job, but they know what to do early. You need to show a path to 30% early in the initial training. One thing that we do is in my opening comments we do a pay review where basically what it is just showing that it takes about 5 to 6 weeks for a normal rep, basically between 4.5 5 weeks in the summer, 5 to 6 weeks fall spring, for them to hit 10K. And when you're telling kids, yeah, it's gonna take you 6 weeks to sell $10,000, that is a lot more, a lot higher likely, a lot higher perceived likelihood of achievement than it would be saying everyone does 10K in my office in the first 2 weeks. It's just dumb because the thing is no one believes you, and then you lose credibility early on. So I want to show a path 30% early initial training. I can show an example of that later, Darren, if I have time, but I want to stick and move. Third is be honest about expected results. One thing that people do is, especially when you're brand new as a branch, new DM, or you're building an office in a new campaign where your team is kind of lower. Like for us right now, our new business team, we don't have a huge new business team. We have a huge total business team because of what we built, but you need to be honest about expected results. What a lot of managers will do is that they'll tell you that everyone sells homemakers. Guess what? They don't. Just to be very clear, they don't. The average order in the company is $397, but the median, so like average is like in taking everything. But if you take your median order, so if you have 10 orders and there's five or six, what's it called? The order five and order six will be around $250. Understand that. So the fact is, not everyone sells homemakers. And guess what? If you're telling your kids everyone sells homemakers, you're not, the kids don't believe that. Now, do they happen a lot? Yeah. Like we say, yeah, we sold 29,000 of those last year alone. But be honest about expected results. Don't tell everyone that everyone answers the phone every single time because they don't. The 3-to-1 rule is a great one to do. But the fact is, you want to give them real expectations of what they're going to achieve because when they go out into the field, if their expectation is this and their results come in here and it's a dramatic difference, it's not they don't look at it like, oh, I had a bad demo. It's looked at like my manager misled me in this specific instance. Like, for example, some key talks, I mean, obviously in training, is when you're teaching dropping down. It's like we tell them all the time, and I can give you all, you guys have Darren has my training outline, y'all can see it, but it literally, I say it over and over, the guys, how many customers out of 10 buy a homemaker? Yeah, like 2 customers out of 10. 3 out of 10 for a top reps. That means when you ask for the sale the first time, 7 or 8 out of 10 times, you're going to get a no. And is that a bad thing? And then everyone in the training class by this point, because I've said it 100 times, are like, no, Exactly. Because guess what? The homemaker, you could write this down too. One of my favorite things to tell them is the homemaker is just an option. The signature is just an option. The ultimate is just an option. The gallery is just an option. It's just a matter of you getting them the right option that fits them. And what ends up happening is our people have way higher than average results because they're not like discouraged when they sell a studio set. Like the one thing that you guys have to understand, especially as new trainers and when you're working with new representatives, is that like if a kid sold a studio set like every demo, you're like golden. One of my reps, Ben Overby, like one of the guys I showed back here, he sold 14 straight space savers in 2023. Wouldn't sell anything else. It was unbelievable. And guess what? I know for a fact, I know our DVM at the time was literally like, why is he only sell space savers? Why is he not getting better at selling galleys and ultimates? I'm like, dude, he sells 550 a demo and he's like 90% closed. Like this is perfect. I would take that every single day of the week. So we want to be honest about expected results and tell them and like make them be okay with these smaller sales because what ends up happening is these smaller sales lead to big ones. I had a kid named Patty McGowan who worked with me. He was in Chesapeake with me. His first three orders were three garden trowels. You guys know what the CPO is on a garden trowel? It's $17. And he sold three of them in a row. His fourth one was a homemaker, but we weren't like making him feel bad because oh my God, dang, he only sold $17. That means he only made $4 on that demo. It's like, dude, let's just keep him putting numbers on the board, and we'll be in really good shape. AT1, I see as a just I see training and AT1 as the same thing in my opinion. Like I don't see them as two different entities. They work together. AT1, keep it really simple, is motivate, teach, and give them a schedule and phone jam. For those guys who are active managers or are taking big roles in offices, during AT1, it's really important to have a second scheduling talk, just like you do in day one, because micromanage their second weekend even more than their first weekend, because now they've had some evidence of results. So either they've had great results and they feel great, but guess what kids don't have when they're representatives is structure. So we need to give them structure. And the people who are discouraged, they need to feel like there is structure and they have a plan for them and giving them phone jam time. Motivating and teaching is super important because what you guys are great at and what every manager in Cutco is fantastic at is motivating. We're really good at painting the vision. Well, guess what you have to do? You have to teach them because guys, motivation without proper like guidance is demoralizing. So what you need to do is make sure you give them not just the motivation, don't just sell the vacation. Then what you do is you show them how to get there by teaching them and giving them new skills. Because when you teach new nuggets all the time and you teach every single time you're in front of them and you give value to them, guess what they think? That motivation actually hits because they're like, oh, my manager said I can do this because I'm so great and blah blah blah. Now what you can do is be able to just be like, yeah, like my manager thinks I'm so great, and he taught me he filled the hole in my ship. And then that's a whole different level of conviction that your reps will have with you if you do that. And then you want to show long-term path and how to achieve it. Like one thing that we do is during AT in particular is I do an advancement talk where I show them rep, AMI, AM, branch, DM, branch and DM. And on one other side, I show 20, 30, 50, 150K. And you have to know what those things signify and how to get there. One thing that we show them is that $1,000 a week is like getting a C on a test. That's like 5 completed appointments if they're just average. 10 demos a week, which is the normal part-time expectation, is 2K a week, and so on and so forth. B plus 3K, 5K A. And we show them that. And that way, once we show them like, hey, 20K, you get this, 30K, you get this being higher pay promotions, more opportunities with service calls, fairs and shows. We go through all of that. Like we do a whole CSP opportunity talk, basically every single advanced training. Because what my goal is, I want to develop FSMs because if I develop FSMs, I just created 30,000 in new business, no matter what. Because if they go over 30,000, yes, they're FSM now, but I also got 30K in new, and that kid also made $10,000. I mean, unless they just quit at 31K, they're going to get the 33,000 and make $10,000. And we want to show a long-term path and how to achieve it. So when we show a kid at 50 grand, it's like, I'll give you an example, right? Today's September 29th. If I was running advanced train today and I had a kid at 2K in their first weekend, I'd be like, hey, Johnny, here's the thing, man. Like, when are your exams over for you? Oh, like they're over December 15th. Cool. That means you have 10 weeks between now and then. So how many demos do you plan on completing on a week-to-week basis? Oh, I want to do like 5 or 7. All right, cool. Well, here's what this will turn into. If you complete 5 demos a week, you'll sell $1,000 every single week. And let's say you average out. And by the way, this doesn't take into account if you get better. If you get way better, then obviously these results can get better. But let's just take that you sold $1,000 a week every week between now and exams, you'll be at 12,000 bucks for your career. You'll make just under, you'll make 2,600 bucks. And you'll only be 3K away from getting service calls. And when you go back home, I can give you service call leads in that area. Would you be excited about doing something like that? All right, cool. Well, here's how you do that. And then we just roll through. But we've already gone through the teaching side of things and the structure side of things before we get to like the big promotion stuff of like AM and branch. And one thing that we also do, I'd write this down too, especially for those guys who do want to like if you're DM especially, or if you want to branch and you want kids to like really shit big, one thing is when we show them the advancement and we show like the management side of things, we say, and we do the sales side of things first, and we go through each one, how much they've made at each promotion, what they get from each one, and then when they go into, excuse me, we go through the management advancement. We say, and by the way, guys, just so you know, just because you decide you want to advance over here, you still get all the sales side of things too. So our top managers, our top reps. So again, they're a symbiotic thing, not like two different entities, which is what a lot of managers will do. So that's what you do initially. Now, after that, once you get them to 3 to 10,000 bucks, it's really simple. By the way, guys, if you're wondering, this is kind of an inflection point. This is where typically managers lose people because I think a rep who got to 4K is like somehow like has their shit together, but they don't. Like they just don't. And you want to zero on the what, whys, and hows with people during their team meetings. So one thing that we do once every 2 to 3 weeks, you can do this in a group with people, or you can do it one-on-one. I've just found that both of them work fine. Just so you guys know, is we do a goal setting workshop, like what they want, why they want it, and how they're going to do it. What we do is we make a yearly goal. I'd write that down. So we make yearly goals. We don't make like we don't make weekly goals because weekly goals are just dumb. It doesn't make any sense. They think too little. Excuse me, they think too much and they don't look, they don't see far enough because you're paid on how much you can think. So if you can imagine a representative, if you're like, what's your goal for the week? They're like, okay, my week. But if you're like, hey, we figure out a goal for the year for them, then our weekly like little check-ins are an ongoing conversation instead. And we basically just break it down per week. It's like, hey, what do you feel good about doing on a demo basis every single week? Well, I want to do 10 a week. I'm not in school. I want to work part-time. All right, cool. We do 10 a week every week. You'll sell 2,000 bucks a week. Does that make sense? Yes. Cool. Awesome. Which means if you continue that over this year, you'll sell $100,000 and you'd make this much. How do you feel about that? And by the way, right now we'll have it. I think we'll have 5 to 6 that do over 100K this year, and most of them aren't CSPs, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean that's what we do, and we break down your yearly goal. In this example, 1,500 a week is 75K. This is a very normal goal for people, by the way. And you know, there's people, and by the way, us managers, we think big a lot, where it's like, yeah, we want to like think really, really big, but we think big on the micro, we don't think big on the macro. So we're under the impression, damn near half the time, I've seen a lot of managers do this, where they think, okay, I need this rep to sell 5K this week. It's like, yeah, but what's the likelihood? Is that kid skilled enough A to do it? Probably not, honestly. If you're thinking about a kid who's at 3 or 4 or 5, 6K. I want them thinking big on the year, because it's like if they have a $1,300 a week and their goal was 2K, or like say it's 1,500, let's say, it's like, yeah, dude, it's fine. Next week we'll just do 1,700. It's not a big deal. Versus my goal is 5K for the week and I sold 2K. They feel like garbage even though they had a good week. I want them feeling good constantly while making progress, because at the end of the day, what matters is the year. And if you guys can see on this, just based on this alone, like how we think in Richmond is just like we're thinking about the year. I'm not thinking about the week. Maybe I think about the campaign a little bit, but it's more so about the year for these reps when they're here. Next, you want to audit their skills. Audit their skills. This is the part of the hows that everyone forgets. No one thinks about this at all when it comes to the hows. I just don't understand it. But I did this forever, actually, so I guess I can't understand it. But again, we're really good at the what. We're really good at making them feel like the why. But if they're not skilled enough, they're not gonna get there. For example, this is something that Alex Ramosi, he wrote the $100 million offers book. If you guys don't know who he is, look him up. He's fantastic. He made a company called Gym Launch. He sold 33%. He sold a 33% share in his business for $46 million. Like he's the real deal, and they all do private equity and mergers and acquisitions now. But this is something I showed my team nonstop. Is like people will believe in a fairy tale without a shred of proof to protect their ego, rather than confront the mountain of evidence supporting their inadequacy. The first step to getting better is admitting that you suck. And by the way, one thing that's not on here, and comma, that's okay. If you suck right now at something in management, that's fine. That's why there's TLA there. And by the way, one thing that we do, the way we plug holes in the ship, is we are very clear with our reps where they are, like skill wise. So if they suck, they suck, and we tell them that. Now, we're not assholes about it, right? But what we say is like, for example, right? I'm seeing like Isaiah's on my screen, so I can see Isaiah. But it's like, let's say Isaiah's rec approach. The way that you audit skills, by the way, just I would write this down. How you audit is make them do it in front of you. No script, nothing. Because that's really what they're going to do. I mean, how many kids really follow the approach? No, they kind of do like they do like a halfway, half baked, memorized thing like that they remember from the manual. They don't like really read it for the most part. They should, but like a rep is at 5K, they think they're like top notch. So let's say Isaiah, I go, hey Isaiah, do your rec approach, and it like wasn't very good. We do this in front of the group, by the way. We can use this one-on-one, use a group. I did group in February because everyone on our team just couldn't get recs for some reason. They're super talented. And I just made them do the rec approaches in front of me and in front of the entire group. And I would just be like, all right, Johnny, so on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rank yourself? I'd rank myself a 6. They always say 6. It's every time. 5 or 6. It's always what it is. And then I go to the group. I'm like, hey, group, what do you guys think his approach was? And they're going to tell me, you know what they're going to tell me? 5 or 6. Or they're going to mirror it exactly. And then what you as a manager have to do is be kind, not nice. And what being kind is telling them the truth. You're like, hey, Johnny, can I be honest with you, man? Yeah. Are you really sure I can be honest with you? Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, Johnny, here's the deal, man. That was, if out of 10, that was like a 2. And here's the best part about that, Johnny. You should be happy you're at a 2 right now. Because if it was like an 8 and you still weren't getting racks, dude, we'd be in serious trouble. But because your approach is bad, if we fix your approach, we'll fix your racks. And that should give you a lot of confidence, dude. And I move on. We do that with everyone. If you need to do it all at once, I like doing it one-on-one mostly. But if you have everyone who's bad, if they're all having trouble with the same thing, it's usually good to just show everyone that they're not very good. And by the way, that group, if you're wondering about that group, how they did with after I did that with 14 people in a row. 12 of them are active at over 20 grand. And that was our team meeting. Like they're all still here and they wouldn't have been before. And then after you audit their skills, order of operations, you do this Rex, close, and phone. Phone is just easy, dude. It's like just read the damn script. Like they don't even see anybody. You know, it's crazy. But Rex and close are where you really need to focus your focus time on heavy names and numbers focus. Like always ask the tough question of how many numbers you have. Treat it like treat that with a lot of urgency and celebrate refocus. You know, one thing I'll tell you is that when reps hit promotion, celebrate with them a little bit. Like actually do it. I heard from a DVM years ago, actually both my DVMs before Andy, were just like, just don't tell them they did a good job ever. It's like that's just dumb. Like just it's just dumb. Like because they're not gonna like if they don't think they're doing a good job, like they're not gonna keep doing it. So it's like when my kids 10K, when I have a kid at 10K, I'm like, dude, great job in 10K. That's a really big deal, dude. You just hit the starting point. And dude, you know what's next for you at 15K? You can start doing service calls. You can have 2 different ways to sell on this business. How are you feeling about that? Oh, sick, cool. Well, dude, seriously, congratulations. But let's go get you another way to sell some Kako. Move on. And we do that with every pay promotion like that. And we tell them what they've accomplished and what's next. It's, hey, what they've accomplished first, like congrats is a big deal, but here's what's next. And we do that over and over and over again. 10 to 30 grand, very simple. This is where if you get them here, a lot of times this is where managers will leave them as well. Keep teaching and auditing skills and behavior. Just because the reps at 20K does not mean their skills are good. Actually, I can promise you their skills probably are still bad. They go from like a 2 to like a 4, which is enough to make this serious improvement. But like it's not where they need to be to sell to like recs of recs of recs of recs of recs. So just keep auditing skills behavior. It's never done. And by the way, this big thing is behavior. Because if you think about behavior, right? A behavior for a rep is just making phone calls. That's really all it is. Behavior just equals making phone calls. That's how I define that term. So in a rep, think about this. Like if you talked about, hey, it took 6 weeks it takes the average rep 5 weeks roughly to hit 10K. And they hit it in 3.5. They're way ahead and they feel as though they're ballers. That's why it's super important to refocus them of like, hey, here's what's next. Here's what we can go after. And we have to keep we need to keep teaching auditing skills and behavior. I'll talk about reevaluating goals and whys here in a minute. We want to cover all sources of recognition. What I mean by that is like go through the year-end banquet like trophies they can win. Your competitive people love that stuff. Talk about the team builders scholarship, not the scholarship, but the silver cup race. You can talk about scholarship too, by the way. Scholarship standings for sales reps. We had I think we had 4 of the 50 scholarship winners this summer. And it was because we told them they were like close to it and they got it. So, I mean, it was just like we just told them it existed and they suddenly wanted to do it, which is funny. But you want to introduce some new sales avenues too, guys. Like at 15 grand, they get service calls. 30K, they can run fairs and shows. 20K that's not listed on there, they can start training for them. So guys, give them new ways to sell. Now, that doesn't mean you get them all on service calls the moment they're at 15K. If they're rolling with demos, keep rolling with demos, but tell them it's like, by the way, dude, you can also do this. And that leads to an extra bit of their business. And guess what that does? It does. Maybe you might take a small hit in like immediate sales, but the reason why it won't matter is because this rep now sees a longer term vision, because one of the reasons reps won't sell 75, 80, 100K is they think they have to make phone calls constantly to make that happen. But with service calls and fairs and shows, they don't. So if they have something they're fighting for, then guess what? Now they see it in more of a long-term way. And guess what? They'll still do demos. They'll still do it because they're fighting for those things. And you want to upgrade their circle of influence and mentors. I mean, we get our people involved with each other, the best ones. Initially, it was just like they got more time with me, and then I got them time with Russ. He's our fair and show coordinator, and him and I have I basically have a pipeline where I get to a kid to a certain point, I send them to Russ, and they usually mentor with them. If they don't, they work with Rob. And I've got three people who they coach with. It just depends on their personality. But also, I just have reps in my office who coach them too. Like if they're at 40K, I'm like, hey, can you coach this kid? They don't even have to be AM. It's like, hey, like this kid's having trouble with this. Go get a talk with them. Those kids love that, especially the ones who are really good. And you want to provide serious non-Cutco value. My favorite one to do is financial, because no one knows anything about finances. If you ask a kid with normal kid with Roth IRA is, they have no clue. But I like to provide serious non-Cutco value as well. And we can go into that more later. Luckily for me for this, I have like the other business, so people know I'm not like BSing what I'm saying. It's like I actually have that stuff. And that's the thing, is you need to you improve yourself, so that way you can do that as well. Doesn't mean you have to start a business, but you want to make sure you're very knowledgeable in those things. 3150, very, very simple. Reevaluate, whys, yearly goal, schedule. Their whys have changed at this point. They've made like their $2,000 they wanted, their $4,000 they want. We want to reevaluate their whys, reevaluate their yearly goal, because their goal is probably bigger now. Which, by the way, if their goal is bigger, their schedule needs to change and their skills need to get better. Also, at 30 to 50K, well, 3150, teach them the rep portal, past customer marketing. This is big, by the way, around Black Friday. Like you should set like a timer, like a set of a reminder, like on calendar or something like that. And around November 15th, teach how to do teach them how to email past clients. You'll get so many orders from this for Black Friday. You get so many orders of this in December. Last year we had a 120K December, and it was because we did past marketing with like all our past reps, and we got so many return orders. It was insane. It was sick. Introduce the last sales avenue of business gifts. You want to like slowly introduce this one. I know it's exciting, especially those guys who are DMs. It's very exciting. 50K is train, 100K, they can start doing deals. Now, if they get a deal, we're obviously not going to say no, but it's like, hey, like we'll teach you how to like reach out to people and like do this the right way, like around 100K, because they need to be good. That's the thing. Keep evaluating skills. Once they're at 150 plus, and this is more, by the way, just so I understand, by the way, for those guys who are branches, you can make a rep who's at 40, 50K is a branch. DM, it's going to be, for branching now is 150. It's a little bit harder. But for DMs, if you're going after that, it's really simple. Do it again. Reevaluate again. Whys, yearly goal, schedule, make sure their skills are good. Call and text them and break bread, like talk to them. You're not, at this point in the game, you're not doing a lot of managing. You're just doing a lot of like just talking to them and just hanging out and like getting lunch with them. I get lunch with Jed every couple of weeks and we talk and text. I text him every week and we talk. Ash, like I'm not coaching Ash Syed on how to sell Cutco. He's at 920 grand. Like I'm not coaching him. I'm just like inviting him to my house for cigars as an example, or like watching football games with them or something like that. I bought him a new cricket bat, for example, for his birthday. Just little stuff like that. Caleb and Max, I'm taking to like football games and hockey games over this fall. It's just like that sort of fun stuff. One other thing, especially you guys who are DMs who want CSPs, invite your CSPs to payoffs. Do not make it a manager only thing or an AM only thing. Bring them to everything. The more involved they feel, the more they're going to sell in your office. I invite Jed to every team I'm out, even though he's like, he doesn't show up most of the time, but he knows I care about him. I know I want him there. Russ Wimborough lives in Richmond. He's from he's tabs for Fairfax, but I literally hit up Russ nonstop. Like, hey, you want to get dinner? You want to do this? You want to do that? Because he sells in my area a lot. And also he manages my kids, and Russ is just a cool dude. I love he was over my house 2 days ago. We had dinner together, and actually Thursday, so I guess 4 days ago. But even so, we want to invite them to all the payoffs, no matter what. Involve them as much as they like. You know, I tell Jet, I had Jet give a talk at SC2 kickoff for our division. And He loved it. He ate it up. Like Ash, I have him talk a lot. I have Caleb talk a lot. I have these kids who are at 50, 70, 80K. I'm like, I have them talk because I want them involved, but I want them involved as much as they want to be involved. And then you rake it in from that point on because over 150, I mean, there's not really much else to do. I mean, you show you care about them, you evaluate their goals, you invite them all to payoffs, you involve them as much as you want, then you're in really good shape. So that's basically how you do it from top to bottom. I know I went way more in depth than probably Darren expected me to, but even so, like the even so, that's the basics. But if you really focus on anything, just focus on the first bit of it from basically 0 to 10 grand. You're gonna be in really, really good shape.
Zach, you lit that up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Um, that was awesome. I expected some fire and did like second, third degree burns over here, bro. That was that was wonderful. I'd love to share some takeaways. So any takeaways? All right, Sean got one. Here you go, Sean. Pass the mic.
So, I don't know, but I think my biggest takeaway is like anytime I did PDI with the team this summer, or coming into the fall, it's always been like weekly goals. What's your weekly goal? And I like how you talked about yearly goals. I feel like that fits our culture a lot better as well. Just because everybody kind of looks at their financials for the year and their bills and stuff like that. So I really like that, and I think it's going to help people stay motivated, and it's going to help us as managers keep them accountable. So I love it.
Killer.
I love
Hey,
to hear.
Sean, really quick, man. One thing also when it comes to the yearly goal side of things, one thing that managers and one thing we can't do as managers is come from like a scarcity point of view. One thing that a lot I know was expressed in our division was like, is that going to scare them because they're just here for a summer job? It's like, no, you're going to keep them because like people want something past the summer, but like they don't think they can do it in the fall and the spring, as an example. So like we just don't have that issue just because of that. But that's a killer takeaway, dude. But I just wanted to bring that up because I forgot to mention that earlier.
Appreciate it.
Takeaways?
Mine was gonna be the yearly goal thing, but so with that, just like making it like an ongoing like thing, I feel like it was very random like conversations before. Whereas like if you're looking at trying to develop someone, it has to be like a continuous kind
Yeah.
of like conversation. Um, but also I think just bless you. Um, I guess also being more honest about the expected results in training. I feel like it would be better to use more of like what's actually going on in this office and like something that we can really achieve and like what's realistic rather than kind of just saying, I don't know, I guess saying like, company average is like 400 and them all expecting to just like sell 400 CPO in every demo. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I liked was the focus of just, I think we talk a lot about getting reps through. We talk a lot about fast start management, baby rep management, but that's just such a small part of it, right? Like, I mean, a lot of you guys here in that 30 grand range, like I said, like you're probably still not good. Like if I was around and have all you do your rec approach, Zach would probably there'd probably be some parts where he'd be like, dude, that's awesome that you made it this far, right? With that rec approach, and you can get a lot better. So yeah, Zach, I think we're gonna up our goal, man. If you get thinking about it, I love the kind of C is a 1K week, the 3K weeks a B plus, and 5K plus as you really rock the week. I mean, you got to think if you had a rep sub 3K a week over the summer, that's a 50K rep for the summer, right? Instead of focusing on getting a lot of 10K reps, how many 30 and 40 and 50K reps can you have for the summer?
One thing
Yeah,
too as well with that, guys, is like, people think a rep who sells six, for example, if you're to clarify, let's say you have a rep who did 4.5 grand for their career, right? Let's say like they sold 4.5 grand, then dipped. Would any of you guys classify that as like, oh, like that rep that was like successful? Would anyone say that was successful?
no.
For most people, like probably not. But the average productivity, so when a rep walks through an average office in Cutco, they sell $1,500. That's a really successful rep. And the fact is, guys, if you get a rep who's selling, for example, you're in the fall, because we're all in the fall right now. If you're involved in an office, If someone sells $500 a week for the whole campaign, they sold 10 grand for the campaign, and you guys would and people kill for 10K reps. So it's also about like not giving up on the kids who are 500-600 bucks who want to be there. Also, it's about auditing who you're hiring too, like, and that sort of thing. That's more of a divisional thing than anything else. But even so, like the a rep doing a little bit every single week, but is there all the time. The difference between my old boss Rich used to say that the most powerful forces in the world are these two things: is that the human spirit on fire and compounding interest. And in our case, compounding interest is a rep sticking around and being here for a long time. That's like what we're trying to accomplish. So didn't mean to keep going off on tangent, but I just remembered that. I wanted to put that in there.
That was awesome. All right, Grace. Gracie had something, then Michaela.
Yeah, I liked the training over performing. Like my job is not to be the smartest person in the room, it's to be the best trainer. And so I thought that that was like a really good thing of like letting your ego out the door. Because that quote of like the first step to getting better is admitting that you suck, but that's okay. And so like admitting that and like being able to operate out of a way of like, okay, this is my job is not to like be the best in the room, it's to like help these people become better at the job. And then that was that was kind of what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I can get some long-winded stories in training. I may need to cut those back a little bit. So, Michaela.
I think mine was the same. Gracie kind of took it, but I think that I'll say something else too. But training over performing, like not having to prove yourself to a training class. My training seminar is typically pretty short. It's also 2 days for 5 hours. So I try to just get the information out. But then something that you said, I think it's the quote that you said, but motivation without guidance is demoralizing. So like being intentional with like not just saying, hey, this would be really cool if you sold this amount, but actually giving them a plan of how to do that. I think that's something that can easily get missed.
Yeah.
For sure.
Plan the vision.
One thing too, guys, is if you remember as a rep, is like, what do you even remember from your initial training?
Nothing.
Trent.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember Larry's stories, but not any of the
good.
stories. Just the fact that he stood there and told a lot of stories.
Exactly. And like that's the thing, is I thought about it from my perspective. I worked with Rich Plaskin, who was like the best productivity manager, like one of them in the entire country when I was a brand new rep. I don't remember damn near anything other than the fact that trimmer cut a tomato pretty well, and I thought the homemaker was more expensive than I thought it was going to be. That's like literally it. Like that was like literally the only things I remember from training. Ended up being a really good rep. And by the way, my training class was in. They did really, really well. And if you were to ask Jimmo sitting in front of me now, Jimmo, what do you remember from initial training?
Just you talking.
Yeah, Caleb just said, just you talking. That's it. Oh, well, you remember there's another thing you probably remember too. But even so, like that's literally it. And I'm okay with Jimmo saying that. Like I'm very okay with him being like you talking. Because it's like I'm not trying to like prove myself. Like I think it was Michaela said that, like, I'm not trying to. It's like a matter of like, hey, can I teach these kids what they need to know and get them out of here and get them shipping? That's it. So that killer takeaway.
Awesome. Well, Zach, did you delivered? And
Thank
Zach, you're gonna get to you're gonna get to see a lot of this crew in Olean. So and Jamaica.
Jam jam.
You in
And
Jamaica,
Jamaica.
right, Zach?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Zach didn't miss a vacation, dude. Are you extending Jamaica at all?
Yeah, 2 days.
Front end or back end?
Back end.
Cool. Grace and I'll be there too. We're extending a couple days. So
Oh, dude, Vera's gonna be so fired up about that. That's sick.
yeah. Yeah,
Also,
that's gonna be exciting, dude. We can go celebrate y'all's engagement.
absolutely, it's gonna be great. Also, before I go, this is not because I'm on Darren's TLA, but one thing that Darren mentioned is that there were some bumps along the way, and that's 100% true. But the person who pulled me out of those bumps was Darren Gardner. He texted me in June 2017. I was having a horrible, horrible summer after having a great spring. And I waited a week to get back to him because I was so embarrassed. This dude coached me before he was a DVM. As a DM, had wife, all these other things, coached me for free for 7 months. And damn near half, I mean, I would say, I remember one Darren did with me. He literally said, "It's like, what's coaching calls for?" And I said it, and then Darren goes, "Well, I can see why you suck at this," and fixed me immediately. And I had an amazing fall, amazing spring. About that next summer, I did 410 grand because of this guy. So I worked hard and made it happen, but this would not even remotely exist without D. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I don't say that about every DVM, but I owe your DVM more than he can understand. So thank you guys for having me.
Much love, Zach.
Absolutely.
Thanks for bringing this.
All right, guys. Have fun.
And yeah, bye. Well. Dude, I think we get into today and we've had a good meeting. So, man, I was like, man, I need to get better at my rep management. But it's exciting. One thing I love about this business is that 17 years, like I'm still growing and getting better. There's not many people that can say they've done something for 17 years and they're excited about continuing to build their skills, right? A lot of people, if they've done something for 17 years, they've just done the same thing 17 times in a row. And like, they're more likely to be on autopilot than they are still green and growing. So what I've got here, I got Zach to share this. So it's this PPR document. It has a lot of conversations, right? So some incoming PDI centered around first weekend fast start, outgoing managing uh, fast starters. So just do some role playing here. So there's some tips calling in before first demo, and then it has the philosophies too, right? Um, so for instance, I'll just walk through the first one. So answer with energy, right? Like not hello. It's like, hey, homemaker hotline or Cutco kitchen hotline. This is Rylan. Who's this? And then some questions like, hey, who are you showing? Based on what they say, hey, how are you feeling about this one? Handle limiting beliefs if needed. What do they do for a living? If they're excited or confident, hey, great, sounds like you're confident making a sale. All you have to do is focus on what you can control, follow the manual, cut food, show all the videos, have a ton of fun, be confident at the end, and call for deals, and the results take care of itself. You got this. You got this, Johnny. I believe in you. Do you have any questions for me, real quick? Okay, cool. Go out there, have fun, and call for deals, big dog. You can tell Zach wrote that. That's how he would say it, right? So you might know, Alexis. You might not only be calling people big dog, but maybe there's something to it, right? If they're like, I don't know, it's like if they're like, I don't know, hey, quick question on a scale 1 to 10, how do you feel about making a sale on this one? If they say 7 or up, cool. What would it take to bring it from a 7 to like a 9? Um, right. If the philosophy is asking what they're essentially nervous about is to smash limiting beliefs, when you do this, they become free and know nothing can stop them, and you can refocus them. Now, if it was something out like that, if it was lower than a 7, like I don't know them too well, they said they're not going to buy over the phone, right? I'm just really nervous. Okay, so it has some good stuff here just to walk through, role play. So I will share this. I can't share it on the computer. So Gracie, I'm going to share this to you.
Okay. Yeah,
And then here you go. I just texted it to you. I'm gonna stop the